Hi, readers. Welcome to Goddess Garden Book Chat for adults who love a good novel, regardless of the genre, weirdness, the planet it takes us to, or the openness we find on the pages. Now, like we do with every meeting, let's settle in and get our mantra ingrained before we even get on topic about some of the great things that are out there. So be comfortable, be welcomed, be aware. Topics discussed in this book club include everything from basement dungeons to other worlds. I will read them all and share thoughts in the safe space that we've created here wherever you find that the video has been uploaded and you're enjoying it. So, whether it's AM or PM, I'm so happy you're a part of the conversation. And I invite you to my social pages. You'll find them down below so that you can join me and we can get further into some of the things I'm reading and some of the things that you may be reading. I'm trying something very new today. Normally I have a co host of a great cup of tea or a delicious glass of wine, but I'm testing out my legs, and we'll talk more about that later as to why I'm doing this type of presentation. And as always, this is a scripted review. And I want to make sure that I cover all of my thoughts when I'm letting you know what I found. And so this is why I make sure that I get all my notes in one place so that we can have a great time together because I don't want to waste your time. I'm a firm believer that your path dictates what you find enjoyable in literature. And what I mean by that is there's something for everyone. I really think if you just venture into, if you haven't already, a consistent reading pattern, you're going to find that there is something for everyone to enjoy. So let's see what I found for us today. Before I get into that, I just do want to share that I gave myself a book goal this year on Goodreads of 250 books read this year. I'm happy to announce I'm currently at 158 books and counting. So when I say I have so much to choose from when it comes to sharing what I want to talk about, what books I think will be really great topics for us to share as a book club. But I dig through a lot and I try to make sure that there are always books that I found worthy of me reading from cover to cover, even if they're mid, even if I don't really care for it per se. We're going to talk about it here. Um, but that's why I put such time parameters in place. And I try not to talk about a bunch of books as opposed to really giving you some of the deep dives that I found and what we talk about here as a club. I'm also creating some social connections, and I'm developing a presence in both virtual reality and using AI and designs. So you're going to see a lot of my flexing here on this page. What we have here is a beautiful design that I made and I'm very proud of, which is why I'm not on screen. I'm highlighting some of this amazing creativity. And I did want to share one other thing before we get into the topic. Um, because I'm reading so many books, I tend to be what's called a book juggler. If you look at my profile, currently open for me are at least 9 books that I've started. And one of the things that makes a book worth reading from cover to cover is a book I can pick up regardless of how much time has gone by, a couple of days, a week, a couple of weeks, and pick up where I left off easily. It's going to affect the rating because when you read as much as I do, when it's true entertainment for you, it's like most people hold a remote control and flip a channel. I want to be able to sort of switch up sometimes and pull myself out of one story and go directly into another. And as we discuss the kinds of things that I read, that's going to make much more sense to you. So it's definitely something that helps to shape some of the things we talk about. So let's get into today's topic. Now, as you can see in the image, we're going to be talking about Lucy Smoke's series, Pretty Little Savages. And it started with a Plus catalog read. and it was the first book in the series. The series is called The Sick Boys. It's an audio listen on Audible. There are three books available, books one, two, and three. But it is in actuality a 8 book series. The first book, Pretty Little Savages, if you choose to read the book, is 412 pages. Stone Cold Queen is 412 pages. Natural Born Killers is 436 pages. Um, this is entitled Dark Illicit, with huge triggers for anyone victimized in the ways that this character sort of lays himself bare. So I want to be clear about the term dark because in my reading, I've seen what is classified as a dark romance, and this is on a whole nother level. So I want, if this is a journey that you want to take, or if you have taken already, you know what I mean. Be very aware that victimization is the leading issue in all of these books. The characters, let me introduce them, are Evelyn Manning. She's the female lead character. There's Dean Carter. There's Riley. There's Braxton Smalls. There's Abel Frazier. There's Patricia Manning, Avalon's mom. Roger Murphy. Karina. Nicholas Carter, who's Dean's father. Mickey, Vix, and Vix is actually the prequel book. I haven't actually read that book yet. It's not available as an audiobook, but I may venture into it because this is a pretty interesting series, as we'll talk about in a minute. There's Elric Smalls, Braxton's dad, and then there's Lionel Frazier, Abel's dad, Luke Kincaid, and Ace. Now, in order to have this conversation, I've had to leave out a pivotal character because I don't do spoilers. But there is one remaining character that is pivotal to this story. So if you should go down this journey, know that you have so much more in store than what we're going to talk about here. Now, despite the name of all these books, and the first one is Pretty Little Savage, again, um, Stone Cold Queen, and Natural Born Killers. The books are as much about those around the main character Avalon as Avalon herself. There's an issue about Avalon's existence that plagues how she finds herself in the situation she's in and the people around her. And when I say plague, it is the leading cause of the dark events that happened to her. And then this is how it all comes to pass. Let's put it this way: after a series of problems that she has as an aggressive young lady, um, she's actually recruited to an elite high school, which is just befuddling her to death. Because why on earth would you be looking at me? But in actuality, this is what I would say: this elite school, which then leads to later on in the series, them going to the same university, which is funded by those who own the school. It's the playground of the sick boys. Now, the sick boys are a legacy group of young men who are in college, but they are already well connected to the practices of their fathers, the businesses that they're in, and the deeds that they do. And so that's how they approach and how people receive them as college students. Think of dark bully romances if you've ever read something like that, where you have this hierarchy in a school setting of boys that just get away with anything and can do anything, and then make it 10 times darker with the stuff that they do. Now, there's another character that is pivotal. I mentioned her name is Riley. She's Avalon's roommate, and she's also a recruited student with a dark past. And they wind up putting these two in the same place together. And I think it's because of Avalon's past as a painful and poverty based journey, along with Riley's painful and poverty based journey, is how these two characters find common ground. But when you get to book two, it gets so much darker, and you realize that I call her Ava, but Avalon is a threat to many of the characters, including someone who's becoming a love interest, one of the sick boys. And she begins to closely examine who's shaping her direction and why. Then you get to book three, and there's a strong allegiance created between her roommate and the sick boys to really get to the root of why these things are forcing this type of manipulation on everybody involved. It really does test how these characters evolve from book one to book three, because they do. Avalon still endures pain and torture throughout all three books in the series, but it is as if everyone around her is enduring this journey with her for various reasons. Um, Retribution starts to become a very prevalent aspect of this story. Murder and deeply held secrets about Avalon have her realizing she needs to protect and develop her humanity, because it's becoming jeopardized with all that she's going through and the way that she's responding to it. And it's why when you get to book three, you understand it's not really that it wraps up the story, but it makes sense how book three sort of shapes out. And I will say that book one through three, are the journey of Avalon and Dean. Though I'm starting book four, it is more about Riley and Braxton than it is about the journey that Avalon and Dean were on. One of the things I really have to commend Lucy Smoke for in creating this work was every character was strong in their own way. And these are also some of the most dangerous characters in their own way put into one story. Usually you always have the voice of reason or somebody who stays out of the fray. Yeah, this is not what's happening. And every character is so fully developed that you truly can appreciate the sick boys, Avalon, Riley, and even the dads from for the perspective of how they ruled and shaped what is to come. No one in this book gets casually introduced and then dismissed. Everybody serves a purpose. So if you read it, pay attention to the journey everybody's going to take you on, because it really does culminate in a beautiful way in book three. But if I had to say what the main points were, it's that the baser instincts of what's real pain and what it does to a person and how they process it is uniquely and fully disclosed in this work. Um, because in most times, when you deal with how an author will shape what is quote unquote a romance novel, and there's deep trauma and pain, once they get it out of their system or they speak it out loud, it tends to become a lesser point in the story, because the love between the two characters is developing and emerging, and they're both trying to move past it. Not so much here. This does not offer a rosy reprieve from damage. It really doesn't. These characters take this damage and they forge identities from it. So I think one of the biggest techniques about the way this author told this story is, if it weren't for the setting of it being in high school or on a college campus, um, and the references to it, I think, are intentional to make sure you understand that's where it is. You do not get the sense that you are dealing with college age people who are going through this, because of the way they handle it and the way that they respond is so well thought out. It is what you would think somebody would do before they, after coming off of trauma, would react. Lucy also takes you through Ava's life, where you never feel sorry for her, but you do feel empathy for her. So I think as a read, if any of that appeals to you, if any of that makes any sense to you in terms of your book journey and the kinds of things that you're looking for out there, that's what awaits you with Lucy Smoke in this series. I've read other dark romances by comparison, and I thought about two particular series. um, I believe one is by Natasha Knight. I'll have to go back and double check. But it's about willow girls, and they're the firstborn daughter sacrificed to a family that feels they're owed a debt. And the other one I remember, I believe, is by Anna Zares, and it's called Twisted. And this is a young girl who, by accident of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, catches the eye of a very dark individual that wants to possess her. So if I had to compare what I thought dark romances offered versus what I found here, I would say this is about as close as I would get. I've read others, they don't really compare. So let's get to our rating of this as a book club and let you know I came up with cheers. Um, because happily ever after is not even close to accurate, but really looking and examining the journey of a character is so well done that my hat's off to Lucy Smoke. I'm going to be looking for more of her work, and I definitely happy that I got a chance to review it. So I'm going to make sure to say thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you being here. And I'm going to leave with a focus on what books are out there and return the next time we get together with what can be found. Now, let's close this chapter with a bookmark. And until we meet again, I hope you have a wonderful book journey.